It's been a very long time since I posted my last video, but today I'm in Houston, Texas, and I hope you'll join me as I travel on Lufthansa's 747 in first class. Hello YouTube travelers, and welcome to the Gentleman of Fortune channel. Join me on my travels around the world, and together we'll review the latest in flight and lounge offerings, find out how various airlines' first and business class products stack up, sample their catering, and indulge in their finest champagnes. Together we'll experience the best of the best, and maybe some more obscure ones too. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss a thing. And now I invite you to sit back and relax as we get this next adventure underway. I just have to finish this Manhattan cocktail at United's Polaris Lounge before we start the orderly queuing process to board Lufthansa's 747-800 for today's flight to Frankfurt. This aircraft features 8 first-class seats on the first level of the aircraft in the nose right below the cockpit. There's just one pair of seats in the center ideal for companions, and the rest are all window seats. Here's a first look around my seat on the right-hand side of the aircraft in the second row. Soon after I settled in, I was offered a welcome drink, and I of course chose champagne, and was also offered a glass of water as well as some warm nuts. I like the red rose at the seat and feel that it adds to the elegance of the cabin. The cabin itself seems quite spacious, with the high ceiling unobstructed by overhead bins. There are individual lockers for hand luggage at the rear of the cabin, as well as storage inside the ottoman. Unfortunately, there's no individual air vents, and there's not quite as much privacy as some other carriers offer. Waiting for me inside of the ottoman storage area was a pair of pajamas, and there's also a pair of slippers. With the lid closed, the ottoman could function as a seat for a guest to join you when you dine. The television screen is not particularly impressive by today's standards for first class. The handset controller for the IFE is located in the armrest on the right-hand side. There are also some small storage compartments on the side by the windows. The first one here contains the headphones, which are pretty nice. They're from Bose, but they're a little bit difficult to extricate from the storage. Behind that is another small storage compartment for personal effects. And way at the back is a very nearly inaccessible drink holder. Inside the other armrest are the controls for the seat, as well as the privacy divider. The tray table is easy to deploy, and it's a pretty good size. It also slides fore and aft to accommodate another guest, or to ease exiting the seat. By the time I'd become familiar with all of the inner workings of the seat, it was time for our pushback for an on-time departure for Frankfurt. While looking out the windows during the taxi out, I discovered the buttons that control the shades for the window. There's both a translucent and opaque shade. Before too long, it was time to race down the runway and into the air. You could tell that this 747-800 was a heavy beast because it seemed to take forever to take off, and it did not accelerate very quickly. We're airborne. Let's have a look at the Amenity kit that's provided by Lufthansa for first class. It's presented in this branded pouch from German fashion company Van Lack. I find it to be especially practical since it doubles as a carrying case for an iPad. Now let's take a look at what kind of amenities are included inside. First up, we've got this little stack of things that includes a shoehorn, and inside this little pouch you have an eye mask, This has the Lufthansa logo on it. After that, you've got a pair of covers for the headphones as well as a pair of socks. Additional items included in the kit are a brush comb combo, a dental kit, earplugs, as well as a breath mint, and this small bag of cosmetics. That baggie contains 3 moisturizer creams from La Prairie. These are in addition to the communal tubes of hand and body cream by Augustinus Bader that's available in the lavatory. In there you'll also find Evian mist as well as mouthwash. I rather enjoy the fact that there's a window in here so you can see the world going by. Overall, the first class lavatory is quite a good size, and it features warm wood tones, making it feel comfortable overall. There are a few additional types of toiletries available in the drawers underneath the countertop. Alright, enough messing about. Let's get back to our seat. Who's ready to eat? Let's take a look at the menus for today's flight. We'll start with the drink menu. To highlight some of this month's offerings, they propose that I begin with a red wine tasting. The eager flight attendant gave me a sheet with tasting notes on it, as well as 4 glasses of wine in no particular order. Those who were able to identify all 4 wines correctly were offered a prize. Now, here's a look at the first class dining menu. I elected to have the seared beef fillet with lump crab for my entree. As you'll see in a moment, it proved to be a pretty good choice. The meal service began with this simple but tasty amuse-bouche featuring asparagus. Next, I was offered vodka to accompany the caviar service. I was pleased with the amount of caviar that they doled out, though a little disappointed that they offered toast points instead of blinis, which I prefer. After the caviar, all 3 of the appetizers were presented as a trio, along with a beautiful salad. As you can see, Lufthansa's first-class catering is beautifully presented, and it tastes as good as it looks. And now for the main event, the seared beef fillet with the lump crab. This was delicious, although slightly more well done than I would have preferred. I'll give them a pass though, because I understand how challenging it can be to reheat food on an airplane. The cheese trolley followed the entree, and I selected several of my favorites. Speaking of favorites, I love the mostarda puree. It seems to be the same one that they use in Swiss First as well. If anybody knows the brand, please post it in the comments below. I'd love to pick some up. And finally, since they assessed I still needed more calories, they brought out the dessert, which was a creme brulee bar, and also delicious. With the meal service complete, I relaxed and watched the end of my movie. Each of the first-class passengers were provided with a card that detailed how to get online, as well as a code that was required. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi never worked on my flight, but maybe one of you lucky viewers can use this code. Just before heading back to brush my teeth in preparation for bed, I looked out the window and noticed a beautiful full moon. Of course, in typical fashion, a photograph never does it justice. When I returned to my seat, I saw that the flight attendants had graciously left a selection of bedtime chocolates. Additionally, my seat had been transformed into a very comfortable bed with a mattress topper as well as a very nice duvet. These seats are a little more exposed than some airlines' first classes, but fortunately they have a divider screen which you can raise for some more privacy. As we approached Europe, I was gently woken by the cabin crew in preparation for breakfast. It comprised of some delicious fresh fruits, as well as pastries, followed by freshly prepared eggs, as well as bacon. This was all complemented by a nice cappuccino. As we drifted ever lower during the descent, we seemed to circumnavigate Frankfurt, which provided for some interesting views from a variety of different vantage points. Finally, we lined up for our final approach. Upon touching down in Frankfurt, I can manifestly say that the first-class experience on Lufthansa is exceptional. It was made all the more enjoyable for me by virtue of the fact that this flight operated on a 747, the queen of the skies, which are becoming few and far between these days. As we taxied to our gate, we passed this little Airbus in the unique retro livery scheme of Lufthansa. And now I'm off to the famed Lufthansa first-class terminal lounge here in Frankfurt to collect my souvenir duck. Their current duck is fitting, as Lufthansa first-class passengers are transferred in a Porsche Cayenne. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed this review, and as always, until the next video, safe travels.